Welcome back to Sons of the Shoe. Spencer German riding solo with you this week as we talk Ohio State Buckeyes and everything going on with the program leading into the summer months with spring practices and all that behind us. And guys, I have been banging the drum in recent years that the proud Ohio State program that used to be known as DBU they have not earned that name in recent years. Let's be honest, guys. Like, gone are the days where they were putting out like year after year just top notch cornerback and safety prospects and guys who were bona fide like NFL ready talents. And I have basically stripped them of that title for the last couple of years because we just hadn't seen the talent necessarily panning out going to the next level from Ohio State in quite some time, from the days of like Denzel Ward and others who obviously came to Ohio State. And I am blown away by the fact that Jeff Okudah obviously coming out recently, Denzel Ward, as I mentioned. Just the names of guys that have been considered some of the best in the sport. That hasn't been a common trend for the Buckeyes in quite some time. Like, I haven't felt like, Marshawn Lattimore, when he came out, was obviously a big deal. Jordan Hancock coming in was a huge deal. The list goes on and on, just of guys who have come in through these walls that allowed Ohio State to be bestowed with the title of DBU. But like I said, recently, you feel like some of that stuff, Ted Ginn Jr. is another one that comes to mind. But regardless, guys, I recently, that it feels like the prowess of Ohio State as DBU hasn't been really there. And so when I see that defensive backs coach Tim Walton is out here going all in, trying to bring in some of these top recruits for future years, it gets me excited. Because so here's where we're at right now with the recruiting trail and what Ohio State's doing. Because I want to make sure we get to some of these, like what is happening and who they're basically pursuing at this point, and names that they've been linked to as the recruiting obviously picks up this time of year, and they can kind of focus on that because there's no practices and things. So recently we already got commitments throughout this off season from Devin Sanchez, Naeem offered from Alabama, Sanchez is from Texas, who are both 5-star cornerbacks in next year's class. And both of them, mind you, are also top 5. They're both top 5 in the nation prospects coming in next year. And that follows Blake Woodby, who is a Maryland guy, and he is top 100. He's a 4-star cornerback recruit, top 100 in the country. And this is all for the class of 2025. So corner has clearly become a point of emphasis for this team in trying to bring in some of these top end talents at that position specifically. And then there's been some buzz around Ohio State also adding in the 2025 class 5-star safeties Trey McNutt and Fehim Delane, who are also, as I mentioned, top-rated recruits in the country. Neither of those two have made commitments to this point in terms of where they are going to go. It's still up in the air, but Ohio State is on their radar, and some of the, again, talk and the murmurings, as I mentioned, those two names and just the reporting around them, is that those two guys are also trending towards coming to Ohio State. This is what I've been waiting for. Tim Walton, thank God, he's out here restoring Ohio State to prominence as the official DBU. And this has been, I think, a problem for this team for a couple of different cycles now. I'm not saying they have been devoid of talent. I mean, Denzel Burke is really good. He's probably going to be a first-round pick in next year's draft. Nick and I talked about that in last episode. And there's been other guys in the mid in here that have come through, gone to the NFL. I said, like, Jeff Okudah is another one, right? Like, he's one of the standout ones from college who's gone on to play in the NFL and is trying to have his own solid career there. And that's fine. But it used to be like every year you were talking about some Ohio State defensive back being like the next big thing. We've gone so far away from that, I feel, where it's like, okay, they got some guys coming out and coming through, but we're not really sure what they're going to be at the next level. You know, are they the best corner in football? I think a lot of that's come from the SEC teams. LSU is another. They like to call themselves DBU. And honestly, in recent years, maybe they could take that title when they have players coming out that are doing what they're doing as well. So I think Alabama's put out a lot of great defensive backs in recent years, a bunch of safeties that come to mind as well. So I think that Ohio State kind of got lost in the I don't know, because I don't even think it's like when Urban Meyer was still here, I think they were still recruiting defensive backs at a pretty high level. And then I feel like when he left, maybe that trailed off a little bit with Ryan Day. And that's maybe the timeline of how long I've been sort of noticing this trend of where are all the great defensive backs that we're all, praising and talking about playing on Sundays. We haven't seen that as much. And so I think that a lot of it maybe just has to do with, and we can call it a Ryan Day problem if we want, but I think a lot of this just has to do with since he's taken over the program, I do think that the emphasis has been clearly on the offensive side of the ball. And obviously some of that is just that's Ryan Day's philosophy. That's Ryan Day's specialty and his strength. So of course he's going to target wide receivers and quarterbacks and building these great high octane offenses. We also know that's the reason why, he's lost to Michigan 3 straight years is he's built these Ferrari type offenses rather than these offenses that are built for like a physical fight like they got against Michigan 3 straight years. So I think that there's just been some areas that have been maybe neglected by Ryan Day's staff or under Ryan Day in recent years. And I think defensive back has been one of them. I look at every year, I go look at these recruiting classes and I'm sitting there and I'm like, where are the great corners? Where are the great safeties? Like they're getting, some decent ones, 4-star guys, 3-star guys. But guys, Ohio State was bringing in 5-star guys regularly year after year after year at those positions specifically. And for them to not have that for a stretch here, I, again, sort of took the title of DBU away from them for a stretch. Now I think because of Tim Walton's efforts, they're trying to bring it back. And, it can also be said the fact that Walton, obviously, I'm assuming, played a big role in bringing in Caleb Downs, who, thank God, the spring portal window closed, and he's still there because I know people were kind of holding their breath on that one. But he probably had a hand in recruiting him when he was a big-time recruit coming out of high school, and now he comes to Ohio State, and he's going to be part of the program this year in a really big, important year, and he's one of the best players on this team. There's also reports that they're interested in maybe bringing in former Michigan State safety Jaden Mangum, who had 4 interceptions for the Spartans last year. He's in the transfer portal. Like Walton's efforts on the transfer part of this, the transfer portal side of things, is also a pretty notable one. When you're bringing in guys to help bolster that group and bolster the back end of the defense, that can't go unnoticed. And so the fact that you're seeing this, I think, is a good thing for Ohio State. I think it's been an area of concern for this team in recent years because what do we say? Like the 2 things that I've noticed about recent years of Ohio State's defenses is that they're not getting pressure on the quarterbacks the way that they did under Urban Meyer, right? Where you had a Bosa brother, it felt like for a long stretch of time there that you could always count on. You had Chase Young that you could always count on. Like they always had a great pass rusher, at least one that was wreaking havoc. And then you had some great players in the secondary who were locking down guys and shutting down the back end of the defense. In recent years, I feel like teams have been able to move the ball up and down the field on this team because they couldn't generate any pressure and you didn't have great cover guys on the back end. You had okay cover guys and you had every so often you drop in a talent that was really good that was maybe taking away part of the field for you. but they haven't had like a collection of an entire collection of talents that were just shut down the way that this year's group poses to be. And from the looks of it, what future groups look like they're going to be, because he has been Walton has been just a madman in trying to restore this defensive back unit and the Ohio State defensive back group to prominence again. And I can't be anything but encouraged by it, because it's what I've been waiting for. And it's again, Ohio State addressing the areas that maybe haven't been as strong for them in recent years on that side of the ball. That gives me, again, my expectation for this team are already sky high. And the fact that you're bringing back all these guys up front, Tyleik Williams, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, like that group coming back gives me hope that this is going to be the year where that all comes together and they are generating pressure consistently, on top of the fact that their secondary is going to be lights out good. And we saw that in the spring game. I feel really good about it. And I like that they're now going back to their roots. They're going back to the thing that one of the things that has defined them over the years, which is, listen, we got our ass kicked by Michigan 3 straight years. We're going to start to be a tougher team. We're going to start to be a better team by addressing some of these areas. Defense is there's a lot of defense is about toughness. And to get guys in here who are talented, who are tough, who are going to just wreak havoc for opponents, that's what I want to see. I'm thrilled that they're doing this. And I look forward to seeing Walton continue to put his imprint on that, his position group and on these recruiting classes coming up, because I am blown away by the effort so far. And it doesn't stop. Like I said, transfer portal, they're still looking. 2026 class, there's some names that have popped up already that they're looking at. So really encouraging stuff from that group. How do you feel? Is Ohio State starting to take back the name officially of DBU, in your opinion? Can they reclaim themselves as DBU with the recent happenings of the recent activity of bringing in Caleb Downs and rebuilding that back end of the defense through the transfer portal, and then also through the recruiting classes that are sort of playing out in front of us, the guys that are committed so far for 2025? What are your thoughts on it? Can we officially redub them as DBU here for the next for years to come? We'll take a break after a quick word from our sponsors. On the other side, I have a couple things to kind of wrap us up. Quinshon Judkins did something pretty cool. And also, that conversation, the one we've been having for the last several months about the biggest weakness on this team. What is the state of Ohio State's offensive line, and what does it mean for the quarterback competition? To the radio listening audience, I'm doing air quotes. We'll talk about it after a word from our sponsors.